I'm Gabe Lullo, and welcome to the Do Hard Things podcast. We're talking to go-to-market leaders and entrepreneurs who have conquered the challenges, the hustle, and the grind. Get ready for real talk, real insights, and no fluff.
But the hardest thing in the world right now is not actually closing deals, it's actually getting somebody's attention.
If you don't have that hook in that first 5 to 10 seconds, guess what? They're going to scroll to the next one.
You need to go in and you need to make it sound like yourself. That's the biggest piece of the puzzle. And I promise you, we can all tell.
The people that are trolls and the people that are haters never done the thing that you're doing.
I love doing this podcast because I get a front row seat to some of the greatest minds in sales.
Gone are the days of saying stay in your lane. When you're an executive leader and you're an enterprise-wide leader, there are no lanes. You've got to be partners.
Curiosity is like when the type of questions you ask is sometimes the value that you bring.
I need you to tell me when you're ready to buy or what you're ready to do. And I think it's changed so much into like adding more value. And if you're not doing that, then you're definitely going to come off as desperate.
High pressure selling is like a dinosaur tactic at this point.
No parent is like, oh, you should be a salesperson when you grow up, right? Everyone's like a doctor, lawyer, whatever crap. It's never salespeople.
It's not your job to motivate people. It's your job to find motivated people.
It's not cockiness. It's not arrogance. It's confidence knowing I know this and I know that I can help you.
From where I started to where I am today is all because I learned how to sell.
And there's too many people who have only been doing this for 5 freaking minutes. Sit down, close your mouth, actually go out there and get yourself beat up. Then come back and tell me if something is dead or not.
That is exactly why I started this podcast, because right there, that's the epitome of doing hard things.
Welcome back to the Do Hard Things podcast with Lexi and Gabe. Today's guest is someone who refuses to accept what most B2B teams have come to expect: underperformance. Laura Skinner is widely regarded as one of the most naturally gifted sales and growth operators in the industry. She's scaled multiple companies from zero to multi-million-dollar revenue through predictable, high-performing outbound systems and has played a key role in raising over $20 million in capital. Known for pairing elite execution with the ability to up-level entire teams, she builds the engines that consistently drive pipeline, accelerate revenue, and sustain long-term growth. Now, as go-to-market director and partner at Lullo, she focuses on eliminating the most expensive cost B2B teams accept as normal. Through the Lullo performance vehicle, she helps turn underperforming teams into revenue machines. Former colleagues put it simply, she's the most naturally gifted salesperson they've ever worked with, someone who builds real rapport, seeks feedback even when crushing quota, and elevates everyone around her. Operating between London and New York, Laura is raising the bar for what go-to-market teams believe is possible. Laura, welcome to the show.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Do Hard Things podcast with your hosts, me and Lexi. We're super excited to have you on the show, Laura. We just heard your bio. We absolutely love it. We're so excited to dive into this. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you both for having me. It is an honor.
Absolutely. So let's start at the beginning, right? We want to hear this origin story and where you started, right? Because most people don't go to school for what we do and what you do. And so I'd love to hear how did you get into B2B sales and when do you realize this was really the good gift or fit for you?
Yeah, it's super interesting. So like I was not a good kid at school, so like riddled with ADHD, nothing really landed. But in the UK, I'm sure it's very similar in America, but they kind of like push, if you do business, the big 5 down you. So like big 5 be like JP Morgan, etc., etc. And I was just like, I'm never going to be able to be part of any of these companies that you actually have to be academically smart, in which I am not, which is fine. We all have our skills. So I left university thinking I'm never going to get into these big 5s. I literally didn't know sales existed. So I actually speak to my old university now and talk to them about how this needs to be actually educated through university, but that's a whole side topic. So I was like, I literally don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I'm not intelligent in that way. I did business just because I was just like, I'm not very good at like anything other than sports. I've got to do something at university. And yeah, I honestly got in touch with a recruiter on LinkedIn from a company called Venetrix, which I'm sure everyone's familiar with, fell into sales, or like everyone, didn't know what the SDR role was, just interviewed and thought, I actually don't know what I'm interviewing for, and ended up on like the ultimate, like what they call rocket ship, completely by accident, and fell in love with it. But there's no kind of crazy story here of like, I researched it for years and this was my dream. It was like, oh my goodness, I'm in an industry and I thought I honestly just thought I'd be a bar attendant for the rest of my life.
That's such a great story. And I see on LinkedIn your colleagues use words like elite, naturally gifted, but obviously natural talent can only get you so far. What was really hard for you early on, and what did you feel like you had to learn the hard way?
I honestly feel like, okay, so you can have natural talent, everyone, you can have like the social side, you can have the social IQ. But I honestly think if you stay bad at something for so long, you literally have to get good. But the best thing about sales is I wouldn't even know that first year. Like it must have been hilarious. But the best thing about sales is you can outperform anyone if you just get obsessed with it. So whenever my friends come to me for career advice or anything like that, I say pick a high income skill and then just get obsessed. Hyper focused, laser focused, get obsessed. I knew because I was getting promoted pretty quickly, I was pretty good at this. Like, I think it was something like 7 promotions within the first 18 months, albeit it was a startup. We were scaling very aggressively. It was in the burn cash days, right? So I knew I was getting good at it. So that gave me that level of motivation. But I honestly outperformed everyone by just work ethic and tied that with obsession. So, like literal obsession. And then there's a little few tricks that you can learn on the way, like sit next to the top performer, ask questions, stay curious, all of that. But honestly, if you get obsessed and you get the reps in, you will be good. Like you actually can't not be. It's like impossible. So yeah, I was just awful for a long time and then came good.
You said the word obsess, I think, in that 8 times, which I absolutely love that word. A lot of people use like OCD or like obsess as like a negative. And so it's funny because, you know, when you look at it from a positive perspective, you say focused, consistent, committed, like it's the same definition, right? But it's for the different way of looking at it, but it's always required to be ultra successful, especially in sales. You know, there's a lot of people coming into this industry that like yourself, myself too. I was a bartender before this. I kind of fell into the role. And, you know, it's interesting because there's so much out there for content and training and sales, but no one goes to school for this stuff. So you've scaled multiple businesses, right? From ground zero to multi-million dollar, revenue producing companies. And you've used, you know, predictable, results. You've used high performing outbound functions, and walk us through that journey. Like, what was that hardest moment now for you now that you're in this game? And where did it almost break you, if ever?
Yeah, it has broken me a few times. I'm like kind of weird. I love the 0 to 1 million, which is just mental when you look at it because it's like it takes the ultimate mindset of you have to do things for long enough to know if they're going to work or not work, and then you have to be quick enough to like act fast and pivot. So it's that weird of like, have I done this long enough to know it's not working? Have I tested this long enough? And am I going to pivot really aggressively? So you've got to think fast, but you also got to let like in that 0 to 1 million, you've got to let it have time. The way that I just think about it is if you can get a product in front of the right person and leverage cold outbound where your cost per acquisition is so low that it is literally just resource of yourself or a low cost hire, that's the cheat code. So I've worked for companies where they're pumping 90K of ads per rep. So before that they've even got profitable, they've got to close 90K per head. I've also worked for companies that are paying an SDR 2 to 3K a month base, then a load of commission. And they're the best because the cost per acquisition lead is so low that you can scale aggressively from that. You just have to work out a predictable acquisition model at the start. And what people do is they'll get a lot of pipeline through cold and then they'll focus on closing the deals and that pipeline will drop. I've always gone through, I will just rather have so much pipeline and my deal execution will be lower that some have to drop, but I keep the pipeline going that it's almost impossible to fail. And then I've learned how to like execute. So I honestly think the cheat code was I got so disciplined with being an SDR and that's where I came from. And that was just, I just used to absolutely love that role. And I got so passionate, obsessed, whatever you want to call it about that role. That once pipeline is your only priority, that 0 to 1 million actually isn't as hard as everyone makes out if you keep your cost per acquisition super low, which essentially is what I try and do. But breaking point, I think breaking point is having too much to think about and focus on at each point. So when I'm running these businesses, I'm also like helping clients out and doing things on the other side. I just can't help it. And I have had times where I've been like, this is simply just too much. Like, this is actually is too much that I'm just working back to back to back calls. I burn out. And I know everyone talks about burnout, but you really don't realize it's coming until it's there. And then you're like, oh my goodness, now I kind of get what everyone talks about. So I guess just hyper focused and that cold outbound. If you can nail cold outbound, that's the route. That's genuinely why I've been so successful in my career. If that answers your question.
Yeah,
It
totally.
definitely does.
And you're always been known for asking for feedback and coaching, which I think is very rare. Why do you think it's rare for people to ask for feedback, especially top performers, and what made you do it?
I think there's two things in sales. I think people either aren't confident enough, that they're insecure, that actually feedback is actually going to knock their confidence, which is what you don't want to do. And then you do have a group of people that are top performers that pretty much think they know it all and don't have the attitude of that anyone can learn, right? And if you don't have that attitude, your career will stop, but because you haven't grown and you've just like been a top performer, etc. So you've got those two buckets. But once you get the confidence to ask for feedback, feedback is a gift. Like you can 3, 4, 5 extra ability if you're going to people that you know, like, or trust within the industry that have done it before you and have been exceptional at it, and get feedback from them will accelerate your career because it's like one-to-one coaching. And the great thing about sales is everyone will do it. All you need to do is go in on LinkedIn and find like the top 5, 10 performing AEs. Like I could list off loads right now. You ping them a message asking them for a call review or some coaching or some feedback. They'll do it. I do it all the time for people because that's the type of industry we're in. But I think you can always learn something from everyone. I hate the hierarchy in like go to market and like the SDRs, like the entry level role. Like I passionately disagree with that. I think if you're a VP of sales or you're an SDR, both your roles are pivotal, both are hard, both are under high pressure. So I think you should have a well-rounded, I ask our entry level roles for feedback all the time. I never submit a piece of work without saying, as always, feedback always welcomed, because it's only going to get you to that next level. But you do have to have the confidence that you are actually good at your job, because otherwise I can see if you're just like giving negative feedback, and the delivery is key here, right? Like the delivery is absolutely key. But if you've got the confidence, you know what you're doing, and there's just a few gaps that you need to close at different areas, it will just accelerate your career. I think people just need to understand that. And once you do, I like there's a few cheat codes, and I'd say that's one of them for sure.
I love it. Let's go back to what you're talking about with the SDR role,
Love
because
it.
we obviously believe that it is so vital to everything. What's your thoughts on SDRs, being not needed in the AE or the VP of sales, running sales and prospecting together? Do you find that to be counterintuitive, or do you believe that it should be separate roles where there's hunters and then, of course, closers in that assembly line of sales, if you will?
I I love what you guys do because it promotes the SDR role, right? And I think it's pivotal. There's two angles to this. I don't believe they should be completely separate because I think it's fundamentally unacceptable for an AE not to self-generate. Like, I think I wouldn't hire anyone that's not going to self-generate. I don't understand why you wouldn't self-generate. So 100%, but they are going to be closing deals and they are going to need to focus on that. So if they can work well and coach an SDR, that's the secret sauce. Now, you want to get an SDR that you can then promote internally because then they've got the product knowledge, they've seen deals be run, and they know how to execute. But this magic is, and this is how we scaled the first business that I was involved so quickly, is the SDRs were paired with AEs that literally wanted them to be successful. So they almost had mentors, and then they started to show up to their discovery calls. Then they started to show up to all of their deal cycles. So when they then got promoted, they were almost just like the best, like the ramp time just massively decreased. But I fundamentally think that there is no world where you don't need SDRs. I think the human touch, I think the value first, I think building cold outbound systems is always going to be so pivotal. But I caveat that with it's unacceptable for an AE not to self-gen. Like, I think that's totally
For sure. Yeah, I mean, our position as well is like you don't ever hire an AE that doesn't ever prospect, but it shouldn't be 100% of their day.
No, never.
Nor should it be 0. I love it. Let's jump into underperformance, right? Because
favorite topic.
you really come in, yeah, exactly. You come in and you're tagged in really when it's needed, where things aren't working well.
Yeah.
So walk us through, like when you're working with a company, you see underperformance firsthand.
Yeah.
What's usually that root cause? Is it the people? Is it the technology? Is it the process? Is it leadership? Where does it typically start? And then what do you do about it?
Yeah, it's so funny. I don't know why I'm in this career. I basically navigated a career that I've ended up going in total chaos. And that's just like, apparently I love that. So I'm either doing a 0 to 1 million run on a random tech product, or I'm just somewhere in a business that's total chaos. That's where you'll find me. So two things. What I've seen, and this is just my opinion, right? But from the data, is every company at the minute right now is over indexing on talent, and talent alone is not going to survive. Like, Gabe, I know we spoke about like Lando Norris winning the F1, right? Imagine Lando Norris in like a Ford Fiesta. He's not going to win the F1. So what I really focus on and I'm really passionate about is the vehicle, and no one over indexes on the vehicle. Everyone will be like, we've got to find the best sales rep that's going to cost us loads of money, et cetera, et cetera. They join a company, but they've got none of those vehicles to enable them to succeed. Because how many times have you seen a top performer go from like one company, they're crushing it, and then they go to the next company and they feel like they haven't done sales before? It's because you need that vehicle for them to succeed. So when we're going in, two things. We'll do an audit, and this is what I do every time. I'll do the quantitative data because that's going to tell me there's a problem. And then I'll do the qualitative data where I'll sit, and this is so sad, but I'll sit and probably do 50 plus core reviews to understand why the data says that. Most people will miss that point, but I think that's the most pivotal point because I can then understand why the close rate's X. So the one thing is that people will over-index on the talent and not really think about the vehicle. The other point is they haven't coached their frontline leaders to then coach. So their frontline leaders, bless them, are just top performers that have never been taught on how to coach and actually educate their team or deal with emotions. But they think their role is like reporting to the CRO and doing all these initiatives and planning all these kickoffs and doing all these strategic things. It's actually not. Like 90% of their role should just be quality control. And what I mean by that is reviewing calls, not on their calls, reviewing them on a 2x speed, pointing out 3 things that they need to improve, and then they get that the next day. And each rep should be getting about 5 of those a week. If you can maintain that cadence and all you care about is coaching downwards, those 2 things changes top line revenue of a business the quickest I've ever. Like those 2 things is adding the infrastructure, which we call like the revenue architect infrastructure, and then realignment of the sales leadership role, like educating them on that. We know that you think your role is this, but it's actually not. It's actually like coaching down. So those are probably 2 things I see every company at the minute.
Wow. Yeah, I love your perspective on everything. What do you think's the hardest conversation that you have to have with leaders or teams when you point out that they're underperforming?
When I point out that they're underperforming, a lot of leaders won't take feedback, which is bizarre to me. Like I welcome it. I welcome it the whole time, but they won't take it. Well, actually, that's a lie. They will take it, but they won't do anything about it. So they'll act as if they've taken it, but they won't put anything into actual planned how to basically get better, essentially. So I guess the hardest conversation I've had is people that are actually overperforming that don't think that they need any feedback. And they'll kind of just like question back, question back, question back. Oh, make excuse, make excuse. Yeah, but I didn't do this because of that. Oh yeah, but this is because my rep was doing that. And it's just like, just drop everything and just listen to what we're saying and then just like take it on board and execute. But I actually find the ones that are underperforming respond way better because they know there's a problem. But sales leaders that are like crushing it, then it goes to their ego. Then they're like against their like peers on the leadership. And it's kind of like a toxic cycle. And they're actually the ones that you're only as good as your last quarter. And it's probably going to drop next quarter. And they wouldn't have taken any of the feedback on. That's where I find the hardest conversation.
Yeah, it's awesome because you've lived both sides, right? You've been obviously an elite rep, individual contributor yourself, just crushing it, but now you're helping large teams perform.
Yeah.
So you mentioned one thing about not getting the feedback or not implementing the feedback given, but what else is surprising you when you're zooming out and you're looking at the team level, right? About what's different about the team fixing the problem versus fixing it for yourself?
Yeah, it's super interesting. The one thing that I underestimated myself, and I was a top performer that went to a leader. And I didn't know any of this. I was very lucky. My company paid for me to have a mentor in the space. So I chose Caitlin Kelly, who built the whole EMEA outreach function. So I was actually in a unique position that I went from a top performer sales rep, but also got an hour a week with someone that had literally just built the fastest growing tech platform in London and got to see her one-to-one every week. So that's just like a bit of a cheat code on that sense. But in terms of just, it's handling the emotions. It's knowing that you're going from a selfish role of just like number, what you need to hit. And then you're pivoting into a selfless role. And you have to acknowledge that that's a pivot that you're going to have to take to be a leader. And acknowledging that a lot of people don't acknowledge. And then the handling your team's emotions is the hardest thing ever because sales is so hard. And if you can't crack the mindset of literally just like understanding that it's a numbers game and you can't control what you can't control, handling those people that can't crack that will crack you because their emotions it's really, really hard to manage those types of people. And I really struggle with that. And it's kind of like your thing in hiring, and that's what the main thing I look for is, can I actually control this person in a way that's going to get them to the next level, or is it going to be too hard in terms of their emotions? And it's difficult because It's difficult going from a rep to a leader because you're like, you can't put on what you would do as a rep because it's unfair. Like, I work like ridiculous hours, blah, blah, blah. But you also need to be stern enough to be like, look, like you chose this career. So hopefully that answers your question. But like overall emotions, like that was the hardest thing for me and the hardest thing I see all the time leaders struggling to kind of manage.
So, a little bit of a shift here, but still on the emotions and the connection side of things. You're known for building exceptional rapport with customers.
Sure.
And in a world obsessed with AI, automation, scaling outreach, how do you build those genuine human connections at scale? Is it even possible?
Yeah, it's actually such a great question. It's so funny. Everyone's like, why have you been so successful in your career? And I honestly think it's just the ability to build rapport within like the first like 3 to 5 minutes. Like I'm knowing these people's kids, their families, their cousins. Like I get sent Christmas presents. I don't know what it is. I just guess it's that people element. But in terms of AI, it's a great question. I honestly think AI will set the A players from the B players even more. Like, I think the A players are going to leverage AI in a way that's going to absolutely accelerate their career. And I think the B players won't be able to adopt it like they need to adopt it. And there's going to be a bigger difference. What I think in terms of prospecting, which is why I like what you guys are doing so much, is I fundamentally believe AI can enhance what you're doing. I don't believe it can drive the value first. Now, I've built multiple outbound systems, and the one way that's working for me right now and has worked like insane in the last 2 years is adding value first. So it might be something like a podcast, like we're doing right now. We're getting to know each other. I love your solution, you love our solution, blah, 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 blah. That is what's driving new business meetings, not just like cold DMs, right? Which is flipped from when we were burning cash. So I don't see a world where you're going to be able to add the human element into the SDR. But I do believe everyone should be leveraging AI to quicken up all of their processes. So I can now build proposals in like 5 minutes. I mean, it used to take me a whole morning. So things like that, or I can send my requests for people to be on a podcast through AI, but then we run the podcast, we do the research, we write the bio just like you guys did, and it's hyper personalized, but I'm not sat there having to write out every message like I used to be. So I guess it's a mix. But a human every day of the week, you've got to. Otherwise, you just like the noise now is just insane. I feel sorry for SDRs now.
Yeah, it's crazy. So let's get tactical here because when you're building these prospecting efforts, what's your philosophy now on top of funnel, given everything you just mentioned, right? Is it, reps completely getting it wrong with phones? Is it DMs? Is it voice notes? Like what do you feel SDR should be doubling down on, especially with AI coming in and enhancing many of their efforts?
I think anything you can get your personality across. So, for example, I've never sent a cold email in my entire career. I mean, we went back to how I'm not academic. Like some of my friends like write these emails and I look at them going, that would honestly take me probably about a day to write one email. So I think anything that you can get your personality across. So I'm a massive phones person. I think that's amazing because your personality. Voice notes and LinkedIn videos carried the entire company, Sales Impact Academy, that we built really aggressively, raised a ton of capital. That drove the entire business. Like I was probably booking 10 qualified new business meetings a week from just voice notes from my account for about 2 years straight. I never missed a day. I never missed a week. So anything like that, now more the podcast play, anything that's offering value. So you've got direct and value, right? You're either direct sell or you value sell. If you're going to direct sell, you need to do it through voice note, video, or phone. And if you're going to value sell, you need to have the production, you need to have the podcast, you need to have something for them to show up for. I really don't understand these cold DMs or cold emails. Like I could just never. I don't understand who's like reading it. I mean, my LinkedIn inbox is full. Like, I just can't imagine a message being so compelling that would get me on a call, but I would if it was a video.
Exactly. That's funny. We feel the exact same way, and it's
I know
just so
you guys
great
are
to
doing,
hear.
but it's true. It's like but that's what I mean about the A players to B players, because the people that are doing
Right.
those that did them when you could book a lot of meetings that are still doing them now it'll massively make them more high performing.
For sure.
So, thinking of what's working, voice notes, videos, what do you think one strategy or tactic that's people are really hyped about, but is pretty overrated in go to market right now?
Email campaigns, AI. I mean, they just land in spam. Honestly, I know people can do it. I haven't met anyone that's having that much success with email campaigns. I speak to the revenue leaders all day, every day. So I see it online. I'm just yet to believe it. Like, I don't understand these emails that have got like 5 different accounts and paying out 5,000 a day. Like, I don't understand how they're not going to spout all that kind of stuff. So I just think it's overhyped because you're just not getting your personality across whatsoever, and you're not going to book the meeting. It's so not thoughtful. But it doesn't mean it's not working. I just would never do it, and I could never do it because I don't really understand how they're doing it, to be honest. So yeah, I've never been into the whole email thing whatsoever. All the long sequences, like just either like voice note and then give them a call. I don't really get this whole like email them 3 days later, then 3 days later, and 3 days later. I'm like, just call them.
Exactly. Like you say in England, full stop. So that's what we're gonna say at the end of that one. That was perfect.
Yeah, exclamation stop. We love the Brit.
I love it. All right, so let's switch gears here and talk legacy. Let's talk personality, or personal, and get personal with you.
Yeah.
What you've achieved so much, right? You know, most salespeople dream about what you've achieved. Obviously, scaling and the recognition has been incredible, and congratulations again. But why do you keep on going? What's driving you? What's your carrot, right? We all give ourselves our own carrots to go after because we're salespeople. We're motivated by something.
Cool.
What's driving you now at this part of your stage in your career?
Yeah, I think there's two things. There's two things. So my family always like I grew up. I went to a really quite expensive school, and my parents weren't like well off, but because I was so crazy, I needed to go, and I always feel forever in their debt. In not a way that they'd ever make me feel like that, but I just want to provide as much as I can for them to make this part of their life as easy as possible. And that's literally the only reason, because I'm not materialistic. I really don't care about anything like at all like that. But if I can like retire is a big word, but if I can just sort them out enough that like nothing really matters, that's like the one goal. But my brother's a professional athlete, and I grew up living with a professional athlete while he was studying for like an economics degree at one of the top universities in the UK. So I think what happened was I watched him have a professional career while doing so well at school and university that it ingrained discipline, it ingrained high performance, it ingrained that elite culture. And I will be forever grateful for him, because he was literally going from like training to exams to I just can't even explain that environment. And then I just relied on sport my entire career. So I think he drilled that in. So I just think being elite in sport, I think if I can look after my parents, that's my biggest dream. I don't know what will drive me after that they've got their five, because I need to find another goal. And being around my brother, like having my brother's support and watching his career, there's just nothing like it. Like being in the stadium, seeing him run out in front of like 80,000 people, and you're just like so motivated by that. So yeah, I'm very blessed, but it is 100% my family. There's no monetary, there's no materialistic drive in me whatsoever.
I love that so much. And multiple people online said you'll be a killer CRO in the future. Is that at all in the path for you? What does success look like for you right now?
I'm technically a CRO. I just don't want that title. So I was like, I'll take go-to-market director. I used to want that role so bad. And I was like, that's my goal. Like, that's my dream state. And then I like a lot of things in my life, right? I like to compete at a high level in sporting events. I like to spend time with my family and friends. And I like my career to be going really well. I don't think all three of those things are possible in a really high pressured CRO role. So I've actually pivoted about a year and a half ago to let's make something a bit smaller that does really deep work for really amazing clients that I can get a lot of value for. I love nothing more than helping people learn how to sell. Like I just get such a high from that because it changed my life. But I'm not this crazy like CRO hype girl that I used to be. I'm actually pretty happy with earning a really decent income, helping a lot of companies, training. I get to train 2 hours a day. I mean, I'm not going to be doing that as a CRO, and spending time with my friends and family. So my priorities have shifted in the sense that that was the goal. And look, I'm technically a CRO now. I just don't like, I feel like that title's a bit naff for me at like 28. Like, it's just like, it's a bit later on in life. But yeah, I'm just not like gunning for that corporate life of being back in the boardrooms and just like feeling stressed 24/7. So maybe one day, but I kind of like what I'm doing. I feel like I've cheated life at 28.
That's awesome. Well, that's why a lot of people are going to learn from this. So appreciate this. We did some research on you. Your teammates have said things like you have high energy, you're extremely fun, you're really fun to laugh with, all of those things. And just talking with you multiple times, your energy is infectious, and your personality is absolutely infectious as well. So walk us through this. You mentioned being obsessed. You mentioned hard work. You mentioned out of balance when it comes to the amount of time you're putting in, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
But now you're talking about high stressful roles as well. How do you stay balanced? You're talking about training 2 hours a day. Walk us through that. What do you do to stay balanced, prevent that burnout you were talking about earlier? What's your method of operation, if you will, that people can learn from?
Yeah, it's so interesting because I know exactly what you mean. I think the key is get really good really early on in your career. Know your worth, know how good you are. Build a network that, for example, from that first role that we spoke about where Venetrix hired me, I've never interviewed for ever a job. I don't even have a CV. I wouldn't even know where my CV is, right? I built a network that was so compelling that if I ever wanted to get a job or I ever wanted to move into another company, I have about 5 people that would kind of like walk me through the door. So I think getting so obsessed, getting so good early on that you build a network, catapulting your career. And I'm not saying so you can relax later on, but there's just ways that you can then negotiate your time, right? So I love working like East Coast hours in the UK because it means I can get up 7 till 8, smash out a load of work, go to the gym, and then I come back and I'm quite strategic with how I block my calls and I try and be done by 6. So I think it's just, I can't perform if I've not been to the gym. So it's just like, if you want me to perform, I need to go to the gym. And I honestly don't care where my sales reps are in the world. I don't care. You can be remote, you can be anywhere in the world. If you want to go to the gym at 11 a.m. because it's quiet, go to the gym at 11 a.m. All I require for them is to be like hitting their number. I don't care how they get to it as long as they're like open, coachable, and ask for feedback. And like, honestly, my number one thing is have fun. Because like, how boring if people aren't having fun? Like, I worked for one corporate company that nearly killed me because like in the office, like no one was having fun. I was just like, what's the point of this?
Right.
Totally. And if you could go back and talk to yourself just starting out in sales, would you tell yourself to do anything differently?
Oh my goodness. I'll be like, you're in for a ride. Oh, like, because I honestly didn't know what it was. And then went into this company that was just scaling super aggressively, raising all this money. We built it so big. I wouldn't tell myself to do anything differently. I just wish I would have learned the mindset quicker. I remember being in my first flat in London and like I remember it so well, like walking around, like pacing the flat, knowing if I was gonna hit my number or not. And like I wish that didn't last so long. So you can become really good at sales very quickly if you can master your mindset, i.e., you take the no's as they're like, yes, this is part of the process. You close lost if it was something completely out of your control, like no problem. You just want to work on the close that you should have won through sales excellence. But if I could have got to that mindset a bit quicker, that would have been awesome because when I did hit that mindset, everything changed and sales became like almost it worked for me rather than I was just in this like pit of like anxiety the whole time. I was like, I know my career is amazing now, but when I was 21, 22, 23, it probably like destroyed me mentally. Like it was really hard because you don't know if you're good at it. We've got this like all of this pressure, or you're gonna hit your number. Like it's not fun. But once you get to the point that you can, and I guess you just get through it through experience. So it's really hard to say. But just like if I could have got to that point a bit earlier, that would have been nice.
For the founders, sales leaders, and reps listening right now, knowing they're accepting that underperformance, whether it's themselves or their teams, what's the hard thing they need to go and do this week that could change everything in the future?
Just go watch your calls. Literally just go watch your calls and get someone to watch your calls and give live feedback. Like if you can be on a call, like say us two on a call right now and I pulled up my live call and we just watched it on 2x and I asked you guys to keep pausing and give me feedback, the best thing that's ever going to change your life. Because when I worked for a business that scaled like 0 to 30 million in literally like 2 years, their ultimate competitive advantage was their go-to-market like vehicle, so to speak. You got 5 call reviews a week. That's 5 things you can learn. That's 5 things to take into the next week. I mean, your rate of acceleration and how good you can get just changes to 1 gong recording a week. Lucky to get your CRO, your VP of sales on a call, lucky to pin them down. You have to have someone that's going to be there for your reps, that's going to give them that level of feedback, and your whole entire revenue will flip. Like literally, that's the answer.
I love it. Thank you so much, Laura, for joining the call here. We're so excited and appreciative of you and what you do for the industry. And you're just a gamer. We love it. So thank you so much for the time. Who's the best person to reach out to you right now that you can help? And what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, for sure. Just find me on LinkedIn under obviously Laura Skinner, but any VPs of sales, CROs, heads of sales, even founders that haven't even built out. We work with a lot of founders that are really into the tech side, and that go-to-market side is just like a puzzle to them. So anyone that's building out their sales execution or their go-to-market on top of ones that are just like have underperforming teams that just need to get that number up. Both sides we can absolutely help with.
There you have it, everyone. Laura Skinner, reach out to her. She's amazing, as you now know. We appreciate you, and keep doing the hard things, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you so much, guys.